Hello and welcome to Woman, the show where we explore the issues that matter most to women. Interestingly, we are gearing up to celebrate International Women's Day on Saturday, the 8th of March 2025. Today on the show, we're tackling a topic that is often shrouded in silence and sometimes stigma, but it affects millions of women around the world. We're shining the spotlight on postpartum depression. Now, becoming a mother is often seen as a joyful and life-changing experience, and for many women, it actually is. But for some others, the postpartum period can be a time of overwhelming anxiety, sadness, and even fear. Postpartum depression, or PPD, is also called that, is a serious mental health condition that can affect any mother that is new, regardless of her background or the circumstances. Despite its prevalence, it seems as though postpartum depression remains what some would call a taboo topic. Many women are suffering in silence for fear of being judged or being labeled as bad mothers. But today on the program, we are going to be breaking that silence. We're joined by a doctor and a psychologist who specialize in this mental health issue, and we'll be exploring the causes, the symptoms, and the treatment options that are available. So if you're a new mother or if you know someone who is struggling with PPD, today's program is specially for you. Joining me virtually from the United Kingdom is Dr. Ehi Issa. She's a consultant psychiatrist and the immediate past president, Medical Women Association, Edo State Chapter. Dr. Issa, can you hear me?
I hear you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on the program this wonderful afternoon. All right, I'll also be joined shortly by another practitioner, medical practitioner, talking about Dr. Mercy Ehide. She'll be joining us later on the show, but I'll be talking with Dr. Ehi Issa right about now. Some persons are not even aware of what postpartum depression is. Some persons feel it's just like what some people call baby blues, okay, where a mother just gives birth and she possibly starts feeling this whole rush of anxiety, stress, and all of that. But postpartum depression is a bit more advanced than that one. Can you just shed a little light on what postpartum depression actually is?
Postpartum depression is caused by persistent low moods. So, what's the difference in between postpartum and baby blues would be that low over time. So you are having low moods in the mornings, throughout the day, you're having low moods persistently, continuously, and the duration is usually very long. For baby blues is like a psychological or a normal response. After she start having tearfulness, feeling sad, can just be a normal, not last long for baby blues. But postpartum depression lasts longer, persists.
Woman, we'll take a short break so I can let my second guest come on the show, and of course we get talking more about postpartum depression. Stay with us.
Third child, another boy to join his two older brothers, ages 7 and 4. We were all so in love with him. I couldn't wait to spend the summer bonding and enjoying the beautiful outdoors with my family of 5. But instead, I spent most of my summer in a dark bedroom, suffering from a severe and debilitating case of postpartum depression, also known as PPD. By mid-July, on one of the worst nights when I couldn't sleep, my bedroom fan began to chant to me, "Singe their clothes, singe their clothes," beckoning me to light my house on fire and burn my children. I had 3 kids to raise and a nonprofit organization to run, and yet here I was, hearing voices in my head telling me to hurt my family. I'm here today to tell my PPD story because my hope is it will help destigmatize and normalize this very common condition in new mothers. Your friends, your wives, your sisters, even yourselves. You will need these tools to identify postpartum depression because she or you are going to want to hide the scary symptoms that come with it. PPD is a perinatal mood disorder caused by physical changes in women. Hormones drastically shift and drop after we have babies, causing emotional repercussions that are made even more severe when we are sleep deprived. According to Postpartum Support International, PPD is the most common complication of childbirth, impacting approximately 15% of women. Yet it's incredibly rare to hear anyone talk about it. Postpartum psychosis is even more taboo. It's that lovely little illness that causes those delusions and paranoia that I suffered from, and it only occurs in every 1 out of every 1,000 births. In the most tragic and rare cases, those dark visions become actions, and the women can hurt or kill themselves or their children. I started feeling like something was off just a few days after giving birth. First, it became incredibly anxious and paranoid, unable to think straight. I canceled all of my plans with family and friends because making decisions about where to go.
All right, it's still Woman to Woman right here on independent television. That's just a wonderful clip or an excerpt that gives you an insight of what some persons actually go through when it comes to postpartum depression. You could hear the young lady talking there about how she was hearing voices, people or something telling her to burn her children's clothes, burn the house down. That's how bad postpartum depression can actually be. Like I said, I have two amazing guests who are here with me in the studio, one virtually and of course one here in the studio, talking about Dr. Ehi Issa, all the way from the United Kingdom, and Dr. Mercy Ehiede in the studio with me. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome. All right, so before we went on the short break, I actually asked the question to Dr. Ehi Issa, basically trying to differentiate between postpartum depression and what some persons call baby blues, okay, the little triggers of anxiety, little moments of tiredness, moments of stress just because you just had a new baby. So how do we differentiate between that and postpartum depression itself?
Okay. I will start by saying that for postpartum depression, the timing, there's a difference between the timing. For postpartum blues, you can have symptoms coming from like 2-3 days, and by, let's say, the first week or the second week, the symptoms are usually abated, that the symptoms will stop. However, for postpartum depression, the symptoms will start or peak around the third week, and they can last up to like 6 months. So that's like a major difference. And for the postpartum blues, with time, like I said, the mother would overcome it and she may not need medications. But for postpartum depression, they need medication and treatment.
Okay. Dr. Issa, can you still hear us? Dr. Issa?
Yeah.
All right. So my next question goes to you. Let's talk a little bit about the women who actually go through this. Some persons will say it's not a Nigerian disease, it's not a Nigerian issue. We don't hear stories about women in Nigeria or in Africa that go through postpartum depression. What would your reaction be to that? On that same question, some persons say it's not a Nigerian, it's an Oyibo thing, it's not a Nigerian issue, so we don't know why we're talking about it in the first place. But do you think that it's something that happens to women around the world, around the globe, regardless of where they're from?
Okay, like with every other mental health problem, it doesn't specify, or, you know, it's not about the race or the color or the location. It can affect any woman, you know, because she has the same hormones like a white person or an Asian person. So even black people can be affected. It's not a thing of color or race. Any woman can be affected by postpartum depression.
All right, so let's still talk with Dr. Issa on that same question. Dr. Issa, what are your thoughts about some persons, some school of thought that says it's just not in Nigeria, a Nigerian woman cannot experience postpartum depression, and some persons even label it that, okay, you're being a bad mother, you're not being as devoted as you should be as a mother. What would you say to such persons?
No. That postpartum depression can affect anybody, whether you're a white person, any social economic class. It doesn't really to do with socio-economic class or where you're from. However, in Nigeria, we may have few reported cases because of so many psychosocial issues. Be that there will be more stigma associated with reporting of depression, unlike in the Western world. Then also in our country, Nigeria, we have more social support. We have extended family system support, which will not be available in the Western world as we have in Nigeria. So that may be one of the reasons why we may not see many cases presenting with post in Nigeria, not the Western world.
Okay, are there specific signs and symptoms that people should look out for? A woman just gives birth. Are there things that she should be looking out for? Or her family, her husband, her friends? What should they look out for in case such person actually goes down with that mental health issue?
I just say every time I tell people at all, any change in her behavior, in a new mother's behavior, or she continues to have persistent low moods, and she can even complain of being excessively tired. No reason to be excessively. It can be so overwhelming that it's almost looking like a chronic fatigue kind of syndrome. Something that we should look out for, and then if it's affecting the functioning of the individual. So the individual is not functioning well in taking care of her family, her normal household chores, she's not able to do them. She's also not able to engage with social activities. Actually, she just loses her life completely, and it's like she loses her personality altogether. To know that, oh, there's a problem. When there's functioning and when there's a change in someone's normal personality or normal behavior.
All right, thank you, Dr. Issa. Dr. Mercy, earlier on when you were speaking, you talked about the fact that there are treatment options available for persons who have postpartum depression. What are those treatment options, and if they are not treated, what could go wrong?
Okay. All right, thank you for the question. There are different treatment options that are available. The first thing is to be able to identify that someone is going through postpartum depression. Then they seek a health practitioner to be able to actually make the diagnosis. So we talked about the symptoms, the fact that they are always feeling sad and they are not bonding with their babies well enough. Some may not even be able to sleep well. So that's the first thing. So after identifying that, oh, this person is suffering from postpartum depression, then you go on to treatment. Treatment involves psychotherapy, which can include cognitive behavioral therapy. So you identify the wrong patterns or the wrong thought patterns that this mother is having, maybe thoughts that she's not good enough, you know, she's not strong enough. So you identify those thought patterns and give her affirmative words. Tell her that, oh, she can overcome these symptoms. Like, she's not the only person that has faced this thing, so she's not feeling isolated. So she's able to pull through that circumstance. Then also support systems. There should be support systems in the home. The husband should be able to you know, should be there for her to support her, other members of the family to be there to support her. Then there are also support groups. You know, when you know that other people are going through these challenges, it demystifies it, and it makes you feel like, okay, yes, I have people that are going through this and we can go through it. And they also share their own challenges and the way they were able to overcome it. That would help. Then aside from that, there are also drugs that will be given, because now we're talking about depression. We're talking about something that is behavioral, but there's also a you know, biological basis to it. So we give drugs, antidepressants. Antidepressants are used for the mother, and you know, with follow up, you know, then we can see. Then the things that can happen if, you know, it's not treated, it's not identified, it can go to full-blown psychosis. where the mother will start having suicidal ideation or even wanting to kill her baby, which is something we do not want.
Yes.
So yes.
I actually heard a story about someone, a young lady who, this was her first child, okay, and she kept saying, this child is disturbing me, this child is disturbing me, he's always crying, he's always crying. And she would sometimes leave him unattended to no breastfeeding and all of that, no care, leave him in his diapers for a long time just because she wanted to be far away from him. Everybody thought, okay, she's just tired, she's just stressed, this is a new phase for her. But unfortunately, one day she just picked the baby and flung him, and that child lost his life before his life even started. So that's how deep postpartum depression can go. But we're going to talk more about it. Let's just take a short break, and when we come back, we'll get more talking. You're still watching Woman to Woman right here on Independent Television with yours truly, Ameze Bazwayi. We've been talking about postpartum depression. We've talked about the causes, we've talked about the symptoms, and now we're looking deeply into how it can be treated. What are the treatment options? My guest, Dr. Ehi Issa from the UK, is still on. Dr. Issa, can you just tell us what are the treatment options available for persons who have been diagnosed with postpartum depression?
Other colleague has also talked about some treatment options, but I want to talk about options for cases that are very severe. So when I say very severe, maybe they are now suicidal, life-threatening, and maybe they've lost appetite completely, they are no longer eating food, they're no longer breastfeeding their child, taking care of the child. We can use the treatment option of convulsive therapy.
Okay.
Therapy, and usually modified therapy is a very good option for very severe cases of some depression.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Issa. Before I let you go, what would your advice be to everyone listening and watching right about now as regards stigmatization of persons who have postpartum depression? You know, some persons will say she's just being lazy, she's a bad mother, she doesn't know how to take care of her baby, she's just being dramatic, as the case may be. What would your advice be to everyone out there as regards this serious mental health issue?
My advice to mothers, especially new mothers, is that they shouldn't lose their life completely because they are now a new mother. They should have that social network around them, friends around them, have their social network and their social circle. I know that now the system of Omugwo is going away gradually in Nigeria, and that's something that really helps a lot in postpartum depression, because the older mothers are able to identify that there's a problem and there's a change in the behavior of the new mother. So I think we should advocate more. We should social network and the extended family system should be on. So there should be less stigma towards present with postpartum depression.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Ehi Issa, all the way from the UK, for your insightful comments and, of course, observations and your advice. Talking to Dr. Mercy Aide, talk to us a little bit about your advice. What would you say to women out there who may be scared to even speak out, to talk about the fact that this is what they are passing through, and how should everyone around them help them to achieve a better output of life?
Okay, I would say that it's good to empathize with people that are going through this challenge. It should not be seen as a sign of weakness. Rather, they should be encouraged to speak out so that they can get the necessary help and the support that they need. Because for one, some of the mothers that go through this, maybe single mothers or mothers that are having babies for the first time, they've never experienced it, and all of these things that are happening to them seem strange. But if they can have support and people that acknowledge their feelings and help them find solutions, it will be better for everybody. So I believe that we should encourage and be empathetic.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Mercy Aide, for being here on the show. And of course, Dr. Ehi Issa, consultant psychiatrist and the former chairman of the Nigerian Women Association of Medical Doctors Edo State chapter. Thank you so much for being here and for joining in on the conversation. I hope you learned a thing or two for those of you watching right about now. Let's stop the stigmatization. Let's help our new mothers. Let's help women out there, especially as we gear up towards International Women's Day. Let women's voices be heard. My name is Ameze Bazwayi. This has been Woman to Woman right here on Independent television. I'll see you same time, same station for another exciting episode. Good afternoon.